In 2021, a man best known for setting cars on fire and insulting foreign countries on television decided to do something that terrified him far more than any supercar ever could. He decided to become a farmer. Nobody expected much. Critics called it a stunt. Farmers rolled their eyes. But 4 years and 5 seasons later, something strange has happened. Jeremy Clarkson's little show about a 1,000-acre farm in the Cotswolds hasn't just entertained millions of people. It has quietly started to change British agriculture itself. This is the story of how that happened, and why it matters far more than a TV ratings chart. The accidental farmer. The farm itself isn't glamorous. It's called Diddley Squat, a 1,000-acre stretch of land near Chipping Norton in West Oxfordshire. For years, Clarkson owned it but let a tenant farmer run the day-to-day work. When that tenant retired, Clarkson made a decision that would change his life. He'd run it himself. "How hard can it be?" he famously asked. It turned out to be very hard. And that, unexpectedly, became the entire point of the show. Amazon's cameras didn't follow a polished expert. They followed a genuinely clueless first-time farmer failing at almost everything, battling flea beetles, arguing with the weather, and slowly realizing that farming in Britain isn't a lifestyle. It's a high-risk business squeezed between banks, supermarkets, weather, and government policy. That honesty is what made people watch, but it's also what made farmers finally feel seen, why farmers themselves became fans. Here's the part most viewers don't know. British farmers, a notoriously hard-to-impress audience, became some of the show's loudest supporters. The Yorkshire sheep farmer and author James Banks put it simply: the farming community loved the program and argued that Clarkson had done more for the public understanding of farming in one series than 30 years of the BBC's long-running farming show Countryfile had managed. In 2021, the National Farmers Union gave Clarkson its Farming Champion of the Year award, recognizing him, of all people, as a genuine advocate for the industry. Would an industry embrace an outsider mocking his own incompetence? Because for decades, British farming had been either ignored by television or romanticized into a fantasy of rolling hills and happy sheep. Clarkson's farm did neither. The paperwork, the losses, the 3 a.m. lambing emergencies, and the razor-thin margins that make modern farming one of the most financially brutal jobs in the country. For the first time, ordinary viewers weren't watching farming. They were watching farmers struggle and root for them to win. The numbers that surprised everyone. The scale of this took even Amazon by surprise. The first episode of the second series broke Amazon Prime Video's UK viewing records, reaching 4.3 million television viewers in its first 7 days, more than the opening episode of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, one of the most expensive shows ever made. The firsting numbers came from supermarket tills, not streaming charts. When the latest series launched, the supermarket chain Waitrose reported a genuine spike in sales of British-grown produce. Thick-cut British sirloin steak sales rose 193% year-on-year. Jersey Royal potatoes were up 89%. Red Leicester cheese rose 50%. Even British apples saw a sales bump of over 30%. A Waitrose agriculture executive summed it up plainly: farming shows like this one are doing more than entertaining people. They're making the public stop and think about who actually grows their food. That's not a coincidence. That's measurable behavior change, driven by a TV show. The fight that accidentally rewrote planning law. But the most powerful part of this story isn't about ratings or sausages. It's about bureaucracy, the invisible enemy every British farmer fights, and almost nobody outside the industry ever sees. When Clarkson tried to expand his farm shop and open a small restaurant, he ran straight into West Oxfordshire District Council. His planning applications were rejected, first for a car park, then for a restaurant, then for the road to reach it. The council's objections weren't baseless. There were genuine concerns about road safety and the impact on the nearby village of Chadlington, especially after the farm shop's popularity once caused a 3-mile traffic jam. Clarkson didn't handle the conflict quietly. He called local councillors morons on television. It was combative, and at times unfair to residents caught in the middle. But it also did something no lobbying campaign had managed in years. It put the exact tedious process of British farm diversification red tape in front of millions of ordinary viewers who had never thought about it before. And then something remarkable happened. The frustration shown on screen is widely reported to have fed directly into a real change in planning law, informally nicknamed Clarkson's Clause, making it easier for farmers across the country to convert unused agricultural buildings into homes and shops, without the years of rejected applications Clarkson himself endured. A reality TV subplot about a farm shop had turned into an actual shift in national planning policy. A seat the table of power. The show's influence didn't stop at the local council. By its third series, Clarkson's farming partner Kaleb Cooper and land agent Charlie Ireland were shown meeting with the Prime Minister at Downing Street, a symbolic moment that would have been unthinkable for two working farmers a decade earlier. Farming journalists have since noted that the show's timing around real political moments, including the 2024 autumn budget, which introduced controversial changes to inheritance tax relief for farmland, gave the industry a level of public attention it had struggled to get through protests and lobbying alone. Some UK farmers have said publicly that a single TV series achieved more for public sympathy toward their industry than years of tractor protests and demonstrations in London. That's an extraordinary claim. But it points to something true. Storytelling changes minds faster than statistics do. Why this actually matters: here's the bigger picture most people miss. According to the UK's Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, Britain has been only around 60% self-sufficient in food production in recent years. That's a national food security question, not just a farming one, and for decades it barely registered in public conversation. Clarkson's farm didn't fix that number, but it did something policy documents and awareness campaigns had failed to do for a generation. It made ordinary people care. It made Buy British feel personal instead of political. It turned planning permission, hedgerow rules, and flea beetles, some of the driest subjects imaginable, into genuinely gripping television. And when the public cares, supermarkets respond, councils feel pressure, and politicians take notice. Jeremy Clarkson didn't set out to reform British agriculture. He set out to avoid losing money on a farm he barely understood. But by filming his failures honestly, he accidentally gave British farming something it hadn't had in decades: a mainstream audience that actually pays attention. Whether that translates into lasting policy change or fades as the show eventually ends is still an open question. But for now, one thing is certain: Clarkson didn't just change farming, he made us pay attention to it. The real question is, when the cameras stop rolling, will we still care? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want the real story behind British farming, hit subscribe, because this is only the beginning.